Hello, and thanks to everyone joining us today. My name is Lindsay Cassavant, Marketing Director for Cotting School. And I'll just start by saying this platform has been such a wonderful way for us to connect with folks publicly, to share things about Cotting School. Today, we're excited to be joined by two Cotting School leaders, Dave Manzo and Bridget Irish. Dave Manzo is our Cotting School president at the current time and has recently announced his retirement. And our board of trustees have appointed Bridget Irish as the new president of Cotting School come this September. So at this time, I'd love to welcome both Dave and Bridget to join me. Hi, Dave. Hi, Bridget.
Hi, Lindsay. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Lindsay. Hi, Bridget.
Dave,
Nice
you want to introduce yourself to our Facebook Live Cotting Conversation followers?
Sure. I'm Dave Manzo. I'm the current president of Cotting School, and I've been here for 17 years, 17 great years.
Thanks, Dave. And Bridget.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bridget Irish, and I am Cotting's Vice President and Chief Operating Officer, and I've been at Cotting over 15 years, working closely with Dave and Lindsay.
Pretty amazing. So I will share right now that I feel lucky to have worked with and learned from both of you over the past 7 years here at Cotting. And we've had a number of meetings with faculty, with staff, even with a group of parents last evening, and wanted to take this time today to really open up more publicly to help you learn a little bit more about Cotting. So right now, Bridget, we're going to say goodbye to you for a few minutes. Dave and I are going to have a little conversation and we'll welcome you back. So don't go too far. But Dave, I wondered if you could start off by telling us a little bit about what an exciting time this is for you personally and for Cotting.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Cotting, I'm only the 6th president in Cotting's 128-year-old history. I mean, that's pretty amazing. There has been quite a bit of longevity in the leadership at Cotting School. And, I spent 26 years in Boston working with gang-involved kids from multi-generational poverty families. It was exciting work. I loved it. Never thought I would leave it. And I had the opportunity 17 years ago to come to Cotting. And I remember one of the students, the first student I met outside the school, and I was coming in and he looked at me, his name was JR, and he looked at me and he was so welcoming. And I said, boy, this is really going to be a great place. And I surely was not disappointed. It's an extraordinary place to work with great people. And I guess if I were to say a couple things about Cotting, I would say, when I first got there, one of our board members was a former student at the school, Dr. John Chavs. And he said to me early on, he said, you know what the school's about? It's about one word. And I just remember, that little sort of nervousness. You're new, I got to get this right. Don't blow it. And I'm thinking. He says, it's about independence. Always think about that. Always think about every day how you can help our students become more independent. So there's a lot of empowering that goes on at Cotting, and there's just an amazing sense of belonging. So I'm going to miss all that. I mean, personally, you know when it's time. I'm not going to another job. I'm retiring. And I really wanted to end my career at a special place like this. And I am so excited that the board chose Bridget. She will be fantastic.
It's pretty amazing, your tenure for 17 years. And for folks who don't know that, Bridget has worked so closely beside you for 15 of those years. That institutional knowledge and that teamwork that's happened has been huge.
Yep. Yeah, Bridget came to us as a volunteer. When I first got to Cotting, I needed some help in a particular department. And one of our trustees, I was talking to one of our trustees, and this is how trustees are great. They have ideas and have connections. And so I said to one of my trustees, I really need somebody to help me look at this particular issue. And he said, oh, I got just the right person for you, Bridget Irish. So Bridget comes to Cotting, and she's there just a short period of time. And I'm like, I got to figure out a way to hire her. She's got to work here. She fit the profile for me. I'm a delegator, and I like to get really smart people who are smarter than me, to work with me. And Bridget perfectly fit that profile. And when she came on board, she just, busted through. She, could take on complex problems. I would give her things to do that were really sensitive and really complex, and she handled them perfectly. She was not a yes person. Like if I had something, sometimes people who report to you will always say yes, no matter what idea you have. And there have been plenty of times when Bridget has said, you're not seeing this. You got to see this another way. You didn't hire me just to say yes. And those are great skill sets. That's a person who has a lot of confidence in themselves, and is willing to look at problems from a variety of angles. And a couple other things I'd say about Bridget: always willing to go the extra mile, and fierce loyalty to students, staff, and families. I mean, she is always thinking about how it's going to be best for them. For staff, she was always looking for pathways for professional development, which I love. And with students, she connects with students. You can go through the school and she knows every single student. Every single student knows her. In a lot of places, those of us who are in administration are so far away from everybody that no one really knows us. But students know Bridget. She's in the classrooms. She's helping out at lunches. She's doing all the things that build community and build that sense of belonging. So it's not an us-them situation. So she is just ready to go on day one. And I look forward to, where she's going to take the organization. I've said this many times to folks. And when you have a legacy organization like Cotting, right, 128 years old, my job was to take a really good school that Dr. Carl Morris had and figure out a way to make it better, and then to hand it on to Bridget. And she'll figure out a way to take the goodness that is Cotting now, and she will make it better in her tenure. So I'm just really excited about, what she will bring to the table. And I will be around to support her in any way she needs. I'm at the other end of the phone, or I'll drive out to Lexington, and any way I can support her and the students, and all the great work that's been done at Cotting.
That's fantastic, Dave. Thank you. I think you've painted a wonderful picture for people that don't know Cotting so well. And I hope here folks tuning in who have been a part of the community are nodding in agreement. I feel that they would be, just knowing Cotting School the way I do myself. And in your tenure, you've been
well, oh, thanks. I've been thinking, if there are any former students on right now, they're probably thinking about the new building that we're building. We have 25,000 square foot addition going up with a new gym and a fully accessible climbing wall that even students in wheelchairs can use, 2 bowling alleys so kids can have things that typically developing students, do on a Friday night, all this. And it's, our alums will have the opportunity to use it as well. So if there's any alums on, I hope that that we're building something for our current students, for generations to come, and for our alums to use, because as we always say at Cotting, once a Falcon, always a Falcon.
It's so true. That new construction that we can see here on campus, and that we've been sharing a little bit about on all of our public platforms, and certainly with our student body, it's really been a beacon of hope, and something to look forward to. So thank you so much, Dave, for sharing all of that. And I think people recognize you as the face of Cotting. You have been the face of Cotting for 17 years. And some of what we're trying to do today and in all of our events and connections moving forward is helping folks get to know Bridget a little bit more as a leader at Cotting School, something that is not new to her. So at this time, Dave, we'll say goodbye. And Bridget, if I
Sure.
can invite you back to us, Dave, we'll connect
Bridget,
again.
come on in and I'll say goodbye.
Welcome, Bridget.
Well, thanks. Thanks. That was certainly nice to hear.
It was wonderful, wonderful introduction. And I think it helps paint the picture that you have been a long-standing part of leadership here at Cotting School. And I think for folks tuning in, it would just be great to have a little conversation with you about your tenure, how you've been working alongside Dave, and how much your forward-thinking vision is part of the excitement that's here at Cotting, and what you want to share about that.
Sure. Well, Dave sort of described my introduction to Cotting was as a volunteer, and I was doing that while I was working at a job that I loved. But it's really hard to get Cotting out of your system once you've been introduced. And in my volunteer assignment, had the opportunity to meet with a number of staff and students and just be sort of immersed at Cotting School. And it didn't take long, as it doesn't for most people, to just sort of fall in love with the place. The other piece of that was having some conversations with Dave, who was at the time relatively new in his role, and what he was thinking about and how he was thinking and what he wanted to do and how he was asking people to sort of work differently. And that was incredibly intriguing to me. It was really visionary and exciting. And there was a little part of me that wanted to be a part of that. And so I was incredibly flattered when Dave approached me about joining him. I wasn't an educator, and I hadn't been working in education. So I sort of kept having to ask him, are you sure? Are you sure? I'd like to think that the fact that I didn't come from this setting originally was something that made me effective early on, because I could sort of think about things in a slightly different way and had some different experiences. That said, I can tell you that I learned so much and still learn every day from the staff and the students here at Cotting. And the fact that I'm still here 15 years later and learning every day is really a testament to them. The fact that I've been able to be successful is because I had, staff and faculty members who were willing to take the time to tell me exactly what it meant to do their job and what was hard and what was fun about it. And I really tried to absorb that. And as Dave said, sort of roll up my sleeves and get a sense of it. Because I always say, my job isn't the hard job. My job is the easy job. My job is sort of removing obstacles and making things possible. And that, that's really a tribute to Dave too. Dave has really fostered a sense of sort of change and entrepreneurship and that sense of possibility and what could be next. We're great, and this strive for excellence doesn't mean that we stop because we are excellent. It means we keep going and we keep adding because we are so excellent. And I'm really proud of that. I'm really proud to have been a part of that. And I feel like that's a really important part of my job going forward. I think when we started to work together in teams, we sort of collectively decided that anytime a crazy idea came about, we were going to start with, yes, let's just think this through. Let's think about how we could make this happen. And that's not to say that every crazy idea that we ever had has been implemented, because lots of times we've gone through that process and realized like, this is just really too out there and too crazy. But what it has done is really started from a place of possibility. And that's certainly where we always want to start thinking about when we're thinking about the students. And we'll keep thinking that way. I think we've become accustomed to doing that as a team. And let's think through all the obstacles and let's think through the possibilities and what can make this happen. And ultimately, we come up with something at the end of the day that's pretty amazing, because we're so used to sort of thinking in that way and working as a team. But again, that's really sort of Dave's leadership in, kind of allowing people to express themselves, allowing me to say, are you kidding me, Dave? That's way too far out there, but let's bring it back over here. And the fact that, we don't always have to have all the answers, that there are people in the building who know better than we, and there are people on our board who know better than we do. And we should seek those folks out and get their input too. So I think all that'll, I hope, continue. That's, as you know, from working with me, that's sort of my style too. And that's how that worked. But Cotting is in an amazing place. This has certainly been a really hard year. But the resiliency, the optimism, the strive for excellence that our staff have always had has shown through. The relationships with our students and families has really sustained all of us. It's really our students that have sustained us, even on those days where we've had hours and hours of Zoom, you can't help but smile at 4:00 when you get a group of students on, so happy to see one another and talking over one another. But through all of this, I think one of the hallmarks of Cotting is that we've not only been talking about the here and now, but we've also really been focused on the future and the new gym, but also just initiatives and curriculum and instruction and assessment pieces that will serve all of us really well going forward. And we haven't just stopped and donned PPE and focused on today. And that has felt really good, but it's also been really important work.
Really amazing points, Bridget. And I think, for anyone tuning in, knowing that our program is vibrant and alive and well, to see students, in person at Cotting from very early on in our experience this year has been incredible. And knowing that whether that's part of our day program or young adults who are boarding at our Hope House program, even our clinicians who are reaching out to school districts across the Commonwealth to try and assist students with special needs who really need that extra support, or an educator who could use that support working with them. It's been an incredible time.
I think our ability to respond in that way, again, is a really reflection of Dave. He has a big heart, and he's wonderful at making connections and networking and making sure that Cotting isn't going it alone, that any individual staff member or family member isn't going it alone. And we've done an amazing job of reaching out to other people and working with other schools. And I think that's made us stronger, and it felt really good. But it's that spirit of giving and giving back and helping out wherever we can, that really comes from Dave and the way he sees our role, not just here at Cotting, but in the special education community at large.
Absolutely. So collaborative, so much a part of what we do here. And it's been an exciting time. I think the history of Cotting and the foundation that's been laid really, in what I hear from Dave and what I hear from you and what I hear from our faculty and staff is really that foundation gives us the confidence to move forward in the way we have, given any obstacle that comes along. It's really nice to be a part of a forward-thinking school community that's in the thick of it right now.
But forward thinking, but we can bring Dave back to talk about this too, because I think we're forward thinking, but I think we're also really grounded in our history. And Dave started that when he and Elizabeth Peters wrote the Cotting history and dug through all of the archives and the files and the photos that luckily were saved by those who came before us, but really documented, our important place in history. And, I think as much as we strive forward and we look to the future, Cotting is always really grounded in where we've come from and, what this organization has meant in this field and for all of the students that have come along. And I think that's a really important balance, and we try to strike that all the time.
Bridget, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. And both of you, thanks for the very kind comments. I appreciate them very much. I think the future of Cotting is very bright. I really do. And I really wanted to leave at a time when the school was in great shape and hand it off in that way. And I feel very optimistic about the future. I think the work we've done to build partnerships with our parents is really strong. The underlying foundation, the advances we've made in technology in the last 17 years. I mean, we had a graduation a couple of years ago where every single student who spoke used assistive technology. I mean, just imagine, what their world or our world would have been like had we not been able to hear them. They're just moments in time that are so striking for us. Getting through this pandemic, watching. I mean, I was at a meeting on March 12th with other education leaders across the state. I had no idea that I was going to come back to Cotting after that meeting, which ended around noon. And by the end of the day, we were going to have made a decision that we were going to pause the school year. At least we thought we were going to pause it, because I remember the wording we used that, we'll be back. We're just, don't worry, we'll have prom, we'll have graduation. Well, we still made stuff happen. We had a drive-by graduation for everyone, and we started early in the morning, went all the way to night, and we had 40 cars, went to everyone's house and gave them their diplomas and just did all the stuff. We had the Falcon dressed up, and we made it fun on a tough situation. But I'll tell you, to a person, our staff stepped up. We were ready on that Monday after we closed school to be fully operational. And as we all know, not every school is able to do that, but we were able to do it. And that's a commitment of staff. It's being ready, having the technological capabilities already. So we weren't starting from scratch, to make sure every parent had those capabilities in their house. We've made the most of a very challenging 11 months, and Bridget deserves so much credit during this period, because she has been our COVID point person. She doesn't want that on her tombstone. I think she wants to erase that, but she has been our COVID point person.
I think too, Dave, had we known last March that it was going to be a year, I think that would have been really overwhelming. I think the way that we've looked at this in sort of in chunks and in periods of time has made it manageable. But I also think that it at each interval, it's given us an opportunity to say what can we add, what can we add back, and how can we do it in a really measured, thoughtful way that brings us back as a community as much as possible. And I don't know about you, I think you share this, but one of my favorite memories of sort of this COVID experiences are the days the kids came back to the building. And
yes.
Those
were tearful days.
Tearful days of joy, tears of joy.
Yeah.
The kids getting off of the bus, our students, I mean, they were fully masked, but you could, the tip of the smile was, it was way up at the eyes. And that's why we were doing what we were doing. And that's, I think the staff, they were reluctant, they were nervous as well. They should have been. We've done all the things that we thought we should do to protect them, but it was still a difficult thing to ask people to do. But boy, when you saw the bounce in everybody's step as they saw each other for the first time, you knew that was the right decision. And we've continued to just look at what else can we add, where can we support, what more can we do, sort of how do we measure this, a little bit further. And again, I think if we'd had to do that as a year, I think we'd still be on Zoom 24/7. But by taking it in small chunks and really circling back with families and with our staff about where they were feeling, I think that's been really successful. And I think Cotting can be really proud of not just how we've survived this, but how we've thrived in some ways, and how we've been able to see the strength of our community really, really blossom in this said,
Bridget, I was thinking, we brought folks back in cohorts in the beginning. And so we had that first day, and as I said, it was just so moving. But then when we brought back kids together and they were seeing their friends who were in different cohorts, it was like, you just realize, I always use the term that our students treat each other with exquisite kindness. and you just saw it. It just blossomed. It's, you know, it's the same feeling you see in the dining room, you know, at lunch. It's, you know, the room is just full of noise. And, you know, I missed that this year, but we still made it happen in different ways.
Yeah.
And we're gonna figure out the rest of it.
It was funny, sort of to that point, you know, our students in our residential transition program, those young adults have really been locked down, and we're doing our very best to keep them open and keep them safe. They had an opportunity to come over to the other school building and be in the dining room, and that was, holy moly, was that an awesome field trip. And they just were so happy. And again, it was a good reflection on how much our faces and just this building feels so much like home to all of our Falcons.
Yeah, so much of what you're both describing, you know, not only from this past year, but, you know, in years going back, is what I like to refer to as a little bit of Cotting magic. And it happens here all the time. Knowing that it comes off looking that way is one thing, and knowing the hard work and leadership behind it is another. And it's really a testament to the leadership that you've both provided. I'm going to attempt to join our Facebook Live with an iPad right now, because I wanted to have the opportunity to share a little something fun with anyone watching. We created a couple of mood boards, and these are just some images we'd love to share. There's a mood board for Bridget, there's a mood board for Dave, and it shows a little bit about you know, what you've all been involved in and what you've been up to at Cotting School. So if I can just pop one on, I think we'll start with Bridget's. Let's see. See if you can see that with us.
I certainly can see those red shirts that represent the Cotting staff basketball team. Tomorrow would have been our staff student basketball game, and we are all missing that this year. The good news is it gives us staff members another year to practice, because we sure need it. It also gives all of us 365 days of trash talk with the kids, and with the kids back to us. So that's always good for some school spirit. But we'll be missing that game tomorrow. But we'll be back in that new gym and dusting off that new gym in a big hurry.
So through the years, Bridget, just, you know, whether it's been on the basketball court, in the classroom, skiing down the slopes with students who are on the Cotting School ski trip for the first time, whether it's hosting some of those events and guests that have been key to our relationship building at Cotting. We'll post this mood board for you in the comments, but just some really great images from over the years.
These are fun.
I'm going to switch to, we have one of Dave as well. Dave, you thought you were getting off the hook.
If there's not some picture with a New York Yankees logo, I'll be shocked. Did you edit them out, Lindsay? I don't even see one.
Yep. As someone born here in Boston, I just didn't have it in me.
Couldn't have it in you. Well, for those of you who don't know, and if alumni are listening, you know very well that Mr. Manzo is a diehard Yankee fan. And one of the things I think the students will miss most is giving it to Dave about the Yankees. And luckily in some of our tenure here, we've had the opportunity to have some Red Sox bragging rights. These students have no idea the Red Sox history that predates their childhood, but yes, we'll have to find a resident Yankee fan to be the recipient of the ribbing from now on.
You know, I try to promise students that by the time they graduate, and I'm giving the graduation speech, I'll be talking about them as Yankee fans. It hasn't worked my way. Hey, there are a couple things on this mood board that I just want to point out. In the middle is the new campus center. I am thrilled about that. It's the first campaign we've had, capital campaign we've had in 30 years, and we've raised 98% of our goal. So we're really getting close there. I'm really excited about that. And to the left of it, everyone who's on here, who's in our Cotting community, knows Mr. Cuddy. And that's just a great moment. When I first got to Cotting, in probably the first few days, Mr. Cuddy was outside on the playground. And I said to him, how's it going? And he looked at the grass field and he said, you know what we need here? We need a synthetic surface so that all kids can have access. He said, you know, the power wheelchairs and wheelchairs don't work that well on grass. And I said to myself, oh my God, this is easy. We'll get this done. It took a while, but we got it done. And that was one of the first major developments. And then there's another picture here with Speaker DeLeo. We've really reached out. You know, part of our role as leaders is being advocates in the larger community. And so we had Speaker of the House, Bob DeLeo, out a number of times to the school. That was when he gave the graduation address. And that was all about helping decision makers on Beacon Hill know more about our school and about the importance of funding and good services for our students. So all good stuff. And just a word of warning to those Falcons who are going to get in the new gym. Miss Irish is not an easy pushover on the basketball court. The elbows can be sharp. So if you just think that you're going to be kind to her and she's going to be kind to you, I got another, you know, I got a word of warning for you. The kindness doesn't always go on the basketball court.
They are excellent. They are excellent basketball players. They don't need me to let off the gas so that they can have an easy win. They will beat us handily regardless. So we have to at least give them a little challenge. If we can get all the staff shooting at the right basket, that's a good day for the staff team.
We're doing well. Well, that was so much fun. And if there's one thing I know about Cotting, I know there's thousands of pictures more, photographs. And so those couple of mood boards were, you know, with the help of input from a few students and a couple staff, we just pulled together some key moments, and we'll post those in the comments so you can take a look and feel free to share anything that you've got out there at home.
We have 6 months to collect good stories and great photos of Mr. Manzo over the years, and we will gladly accept both. So don't hesitate to get in touch with good photos and good stories.
Well, it's a pleasure to talk with both of you and to have you both speaking with everyone a little more publicly today. We've definitely gone above and beyond our half hour that was planned. So thank you both for your time and for your enthusiasm and dedication to Cotting School. This has been terrific. For everyone who's tuning in, we really do invite you to connect with us at any time, whether it's now or into the future when we hope to have visitors in person at Cotting again. There's nothing better than introducing someone who hasn't heard of us before and wants to learn more about Cotting. So we invite that, and we thank Bridget and Dave. We're looking
Lindsay,
forward
thank you
to...
very much.
Thank you, Lindsay. Clearly we could talk about Cotting all day, so.
Well, thanks again. It was a pleasure to have you.
Lindsay, I'll just say the future of Cotting is very bright, and I'm so excited for Bridget's leadership, and I'm very thankful for our entire community. We just have a great community.
Thanks so much. Thanks for tuning in today.
Thanks all.